So there's a lot of talk in the industry right now about how AI is going to disrupt lead flow for people, how it's going to disrupt visibility for your company, how your clients are going to find you through search in the new era of AI. And in this episode, we're going to be covering all of those questions and talking about how to get traffic to your website, even in this upcoming age of AI search. We know this is an area of concern for a lot of remodelers right now, which is why Logan's putting on a free webinar on November 6th on this very topic. Attend that. He has very tactical examples of what's changing, what you can do about it, and if you have any live questions you want to ask, this is the place where you can come and ask them there. So again, that's November 6th at 2 p.m. Links for that are in the show notes of this, or you can also go to our website, contractorgrowthnetwork.com. You can catch it live, or that same link will work for afterwards. You can catch the replay if you're watching this before November 6th, 2025. That being said, let's get into the episode.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Contractor Growth Network podcast. I'm Logan Shinholster, and today I'm still joined by Aaron Horner.
Hello, hello.
And we're talking all things as it relates to Google, AI, all the new updates. It's October 21st as of the time of recording, and the importance of that is basically this stuff changes so quickly, and a lot of it is just keeping up to date. But we're going to talk about the latest and greatest with all the stuff and really where the direction's headed.
Yeah. So last episode where we left off in the series now on Remodelers' overall marketing plan was we have the media, we have the website, now we're talking about getting traffic to the website.
Yes. And what we're talking about specifically with like Google and AI, there's like different types of traffic. So traffic being like people coming to the website. Remember, the website's meant to be that resume for the business that's meant to educate and nurture and basically show people, hey, when you work with a remodeler, this is how it should be done. And then nurture being, this is how we do it specifically to benefit you. So it's a bit of education, but also persuasion involved with it. So if you have not heard that, go back, listen to that episode, because that will then, like everything we're going to talk about today, doesn't really matter as much if we don't have the website dialed in where people can actually see themselves wanting to work with you.
Yeah, 100%.
So with the Google and the AI stuff, really what it comes down to is we're talking about people that are actively searching for a company like yours. So the difference here would be when we think about intent-based marketing, that is somebody has intent to want to hire or research. So that would be going into Google, kind of going into ChatGPT or Gemini or any of these sources. Basically, they're asking, hey, I need you to help me find someone to do this thing. The other type of marketing is going to be more like billboards or Facebook or Instagram ads or things where it's like you don't know if that person is searching for your thing or not.
Yeah.
But you do know, okay, if we put up a billboard and let's say our clients are more affluent and they live more in like the suburbs, like right next to the actual city, then a smart way to market it would be get a billboard that's off of the major highway that's maybe driving out to, I don't know if it's all like doctors you work with a lot, out to the hospital in the city or right next to the city versus putting up a billboard, 40 miles out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So that's what we're talking about today is more so of the intent-based stuff. Next time will be more of like, sponsoring in a magazine or, like a golf cart and things like that. Yes. But today is simply just if somebody is actively searching for you, can they find you, and how do we make sure that they do find you?
Yeah, instead of just general brand awareness, this is like I'm actively searching for somebody to solve my problem, lower in the sales funnel.
Lower in that funnel of they're getting closer. And the reason for that, we want to talk about this, is a lot of people skip this part. They go right to or they don't even think about it. They just think about like if I just do a bunch of like, my ideal clients reading this magazine, or they go and play golf. So maybe I should put up like a golf card sponsorship. That's fine. But like realistically, people are not on the golf course actively looking for your stuff.
Yeah.
That is a branding play that down the line will be beneficial. But just as far as going in the right order, we want to make sure that if people are actively searching for your stuff, we're not skipping over those people. We're catering to them first, and then once that is dialed in and you have a system around that, then you can start to go more and more into the other higher level, meaning they're not ready yet. They may be a few years out from their remodel project. It's still super important, just not this very second.
Yeah, because what I'm assuming is that when you start those campaigns thinking that they'll bring in leads, you then kind of see that if it's an awareness campaign, maybe it didn't meet your expectations. It's not what it was supposed to do in the first place. And then almost you give up hope on any sort of advertising at all.
Correct. It's a lot of, hey, I boosted this post of a project we just did, and I got a bunch of comments and a bunch of likes, but nobody reached out. And there is a way to get people to reach out. You have to give like a special discount or an offer or a promo.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that more next time. But the better way of going in the right order is if people are actively raising their hand to want to work with you, make sure that you're showing up there first and foremost.
Great. Okay.
All
cool.
right. So when it comes to Google versus AI, there's a lot of changes that happen. The big thing to think about with all this is Google AI search. When we say AI search, we mean like Google has their own version of ChatGPT, which is called Gemini. Then you have ChatGPT. Then you have another one called Perplexity, and you have one called Claude. And they all kind of have their sweet spots and their nuances and what's good for what. But they're constantly changing. Mm-hmm. Google's the same boat. So Google, Bing, the other search engines that you go to, they're shifting around a lot. They're testing a lot of things. At the end of the day, Google's still a business, so they want to make sure that people are constantly coming back to Google. So they want to make sure that they're giving the user the best experience. So they shift a lot, and that's, if you look at photos of what Google looked like, Google search looked like even 5 years ago, it would look pretty different than how it looks now as far as what the interface of the result page looks like.
Yeah.
You get so used to it because they make slow changes all the time that you slowly morph into the new one, but like it is shocking how different the old one like looked.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, I was at my in-laws' house this weekend and they had an iPhone 4 still. iPhone 4 I think came out in like 2009 or
Nice, dude.
11, and it was like I could not get over, like, first off, why they still had it.
Yeah.
But second off, how small it was, and they still have the button for the home, and there's only one small camera and, like, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And, like, the charger is now, it's the old school, like, wide one. So, and I forgot, just like, wow, like, it was only 15 years ago that this thing came out, but it's so different. That's kind of how Google is.
Yeah, the slow iterative changes. It's hard to tell what's even changed. Well, even like, because even just now, you didn't even mention the AI overviews, like adding that in. Like, I mean, that's almost older at this point now that they started incorporating those.
Yeah, I mean, the AI overviews are basically, they've started to do this thing called like zero click, and they did that a few years ago. And basically, Google wants to keep you on their, it's called a SERP, or a search engine results page. So basically when you type in something into Google and you hit enter, whatever it spits back, that page as a whole is called the SERP, search engine result page. And what they have had for a long time is, it used to be if you wanted to check what the weather was, you would type in, what's the weather in Charlotte today? And then a bunch of those links would pop up like how it normally does, and you would have to click on one, and then it would take you to the one that they thought would be the most likely source to give you an accurate response, which is probably going to be weather.com. And then in weather.com, you were able to find out, what's the weather in Charlotte today.
Yeah.
Well, you didn't really need to go to weather.com to figure that out. Google's smart enough that they now just say, well, screw it. If you type in what's the weather today, they're going to have it's called a featured snippet, or there's a bunch of different names for this stuff. But basically, you're going to have something that pops up at the top of Google that says, this is the weather for today in Charlotte. If you want, you can still scroll below that and actually still go to weather.com and all these other things. But basically, that was Google's way of saying, you don't need to go for like a search that's this simple. You don't need to go to weather.com. We can just keep you here with the goal of, if you're still on that Google page, you're more likely to then do another search, and that other search may actually trigger sponsored ads or Google ads that you would then be likely to click on, which is how Google makes money.
Yeah, they want to keep you there. They have no incentive to send you off to somebody else's website unless it gives you a better experience than they can provide.
100%.
Yeah.
Because they want to keep you there. A huge, like majority part of their business model is on ads. Mm-hmm. So they want to make sure that they're finding that balance where if they only showed you ads, the benefit of ads is that you can game the system more. You don't have to, like organic, which basically is all the free stuff that's below the ads. You have to work towards earning those spots. With ads, you just have to pay for it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times the paid ones, yes, there's a whole algorithm and setup to make sure that you're delivering good ads to people. However, the benefit of an ad is you can basically jump the whole list, whether your stuff is good or not.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if all the ads are crap ads, people are then going to say, well, I'm going to stop coming to Google, and they're going to go to Bing or somewhere else. And then now Google has no shot. So they still have incentive.
It's a balance that they have to find, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. So with what we're talking about today is we here at CGN, we are huge on organic and AI, not as much on Google Ads specifically for the remodeling industry. And the reason for that is it doesn't mean that ads cannot work. But basically we've tried ads a bunch of times over the years, and we've just never seen the result be as impactful as organic. Few different reasons why. So first off, with Google Ads, you are basically, you have to spend enough money. It's not like you can put in like $200 and crush it on Google Ads. You need to put in like a few $1,000s a month is usually like the minimum like suggested amount. And with that for that amount of money, our philosophy is you could be building that into your own brand, creating your own content, things that are going to stand the test of time a lot more. Because let's say you spend $5,000 in a month on Google Ads versus $5,000 in a month and you get a half a dozen blog posts. Well, if those ads produce nothing, then you have nothing to show for, and basically you just paid Google. But those blog posts, if they produce nothing in that same month, well, at least you now have a half a dozen blogs that you could still use in your sales process or in your email marketing. So basically you have actual tangible things that you're able to use, assuming that both things do not work at all.
It's similar to the conversation we would have years ago when the discussion was more around like, should people build their brands with like Angie's List and things like that?
That's great. Yeah, that's a great sticking point on that as well. Of like, it's the same thing. What happens if something happens to Angie? Like they get put in a class action lawsuit.
Yeah,
which happened to Home Advisor. So. But Google, you could also make the same argument with Google of like right now, is that happening with ChatGPT and things like that? However, Google is like such, it's the idea of too big to fail. Like they shift a lot. And the stuff that they do is not really, it's not nearly as like nefarious, if anything, as like what Home Advisor does. Like I think most everybody trusts Google. I think most everybody does not trust Home Advisor or Angie and things like that.
Yeah.
So there is those differences. But on the Google ad side, basically the big benefit is you get to pay to be at the top of the list faster. The way that Google ads work really well is if you're able to get a very fast conversion, meaning you're able to generate a lead quickly. The reason for that is Google likes to be able to optimize around who they show the ads to when somebody is searching, because Google wants the ads to work for you. Because the more that the ads work for you, the more that you're going to continue to spend money, put money into it, things like that.
Yeah.
With that said, on the remodeling side, when you're talking about $100,000 and up kitchen, where you need to like think about it and talk to your spouse before reaching out, that typically does not go ad to page to lead filled out. It's usually much longer, which means that it's harder for Google to figure out what to optimize around. So typically you don't have enough conversions because Google has like a minimum amount of conversions that they want to see on like a week to a monthly basis to be able to like optimize around. And typically that does not happen if you're like in the higher level design build. Now, if you're like a bath fitters or something where it's more of like you can do a bathroom in a day or two and it's like you're all about volume, you're getting in, you're getting out. People don't need to think as long, so it's a faster conversion. It can work very well for that.
So what you're saying is that gives Google a lot more data to pull from and be like, okay, this was successful, this wasn't, and then they can optimize based around that.
Correct.
But when you have such little lead flow, it's not nearly
it's hard
as effective.
to, because like I heard a stat a few years ago that they talked about, Facebook they think about 50,000 data points on each person. They think Google has about 2 million because Google really is, between Gmail and Google Maps and like it's all those things.
Yeah.
They're pretty smart. They know a lot of things about a lot of people. So with the Google ad side, they're able to kind of optimize around who they think is more likely to click on the ad and see the ad based off of like your previous search side of things.
Yeah.
So that's the first piece is Google ads can still work, but our thing is like if you're going to put money into it, put it into your own brand because that in the long run is going to be way better. Second piece is going to be something called click-through rate. So basically, when you do a Google search and it pops up with that search engine result page, the percentage that people are going to click on each of the individual links, whether it's the ads or organic or it's the maps, each of those has like a percentage of like how often are people clicking on it. All the ads combined typically get about a 5% click-through rate, which means that if 100 people are typing in kitchen remodeling company near me, 5 people are going to click on the ads. 95 people are going to click on the organic section, which is below the ads.
Yeah.
So you're automatically fighting for less people. Like that number one organic spot in Google, like the free spot, gets a 34% click-through rate. I think was like the last stat that came out. So just think about it. All the ads combined get 5%. That first organic spot gets 34%.
Yeah.
So when you talk about like the piece of the pie that you're really fighting for, that's the big difference as well, is that you have a much higher likelihood that somebody's actually going to click on your stuff if you are in the organic section compared to the ads section.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So that's the other big part of this is not only are you building your brand with organic, the likelihood that somebody clicks on you and trusts you more is much higher, again, because people know that you have to like earn those spots versus, paying your way to the top.
Yeah. Okay. So organic search results is the main traffic source you're talking about.
That's the main one. Correct.
And with our clients, like looking at the back end where their leads are coming from, is that pretty much the vast majority of where all leads are coming from?
Most leads are going to be coming from, they're going to say one of two things. Either one's going to say organic, which is straight up like Google says this is coming right from Google, or the second one is going to be called direct traffic. What direct traffic, and this you'll see this if you have an analytics tool or like a Google Analytics on your site or a HubSpot or whatever that is, direct basically just means we don't know where it came from. Meaning it could have been somebody just typed in your website directly. Okay. It could have been
scan a QR code or something.
It could have been scan a QR code, assuming that you don't have tracking set up on the QR code. Yeah. Or if you text somebody a link to your website and they click on it, that's that way. So basically, it's their way of saying we don't know where this came from. Mm-hmm. Now, that's way more common in like the remodeling space because typically for it to be organic, somebody would need to type in kitchen remodeler near me, go through your website, and then fill out a lead form in a certain period of time for them to Google to say, okay, we're going to connect the dots and say that this is organic.
Now, you said for Google to connect the dots. Would that not be on the website to do that?
So Google is just tracking what you do from the Google search engine results page to the website to then what you would consider to be a lead. Okay,
so how are the remodelers, how are they getting those analytics?
So that would be Google Analytics. If you have Google Analytics set up on your website,
I see.
That will track it. We have, like I know with our clients, we built out like a custom analytics whole like software setup that everybody's on now that gives us like enhanced analytics into a bunch of different things. But basically, it tracks all of that stuff. Yeah. Now, as time goes on, the way that it used to work before all the privacy stuff and basically like Facebook back with like the Cambridge Analytica stuff, I think in like 2017 or 18, that messed everything up. Because basically what was happening, maybe it was a little bit after that, but either way, it was like the Wild West as far as like they would track you on what you're doing on the internet for like a very long period, like months.
Yeah.
So basically, if you typed in remodeler near me and you went on logansremodeling.com and then 2 months later, as long as you didn't like clear your cookies and stuff like that, if you went back to that site, Google could still track it and go, oh, 2 months ago, Aaron was here and they just filled out a form. So because they came in organically, this is an organic lead.
Yeah.
But as time has gone on and the privacy has changed and things like that, now
it's harder to make those
so
connections
much harder.
So far back.
So now it's really like you kind of have to do it right there on the spot.
Yeah.
Or and like now they have certain browsers like DuckDuckGo is one where like there is no tracking. Mm-hmm. So or like on your on Safari or your iPhone, the default is no tracking. So it's like it's getting harder. So what happens is now you're going to get a lot of things that say direct traffic because Google doesn't know where it came from because it has to be. It's like the last time that you went to the site.
Yeah.
That's when it popped in and said, okay, they just filled out a contact form. So a lot of it now it's a lot of like correlation that you're looking at is like, okay, overall leads that we see coming in. from, let's say, direct. Now, once your Google rankings increase and we see that you're getting more traffic to the site for the keywords that you want to get found for, and you quote unquote coincidentally double the amount of direct leads coming in the door as well.
Yeah, you see there's a correlation.
It's kind of like the idea of like even with Facebook ads, where like I was talking to a guy that does Facebook ads, and basically he said, when I talk to clients, I'm going to run Facebook ads, but what I found is that when I start to run Facebook ads in your area, and he does it for painters, he was like, you're going to, quote unquote, coincidentally start to get more forms to your website that are not going to be through the Facebook ad form that I'm setting
It'll
up.
be direct. Yeah.
It's going to be direct, and you're going to turn around and go, well, the Facebook ads don't work. I'm getting everybody through my website, but the reality is it's because you set up this ad, people may not look at the ad, but they may go, okay, like, who is this company? Let me go to Google. Then you research the company and go, okay, I'm in, but the ads were the reason that got you there. So it's very similar in the Google world, and AI is even more.
Yeah, it becomes very difficult to track your ROI. How effective is this? Having real clear answers to those questions is tough.
Yes, and the whole attribution is like nobody really has it figured out.
Okay.
Like, no, I mean, you have all these softwares that can get it better and better and better, but ultimately you're trying to piece together these customer journeys that are like so many different so many touch points of like, did they first see you on Facebook, or did they hear about you at a networking meeting or things like that? So like the journeys are so crazy at this point that a lot of it is, we track all this stuff and we'll look and we'll see, okay, for direct, like, is your direct leads going up as well? Can we specifically say, hey, this, we know that this, we can't, unfortunately, because of like how it works, but like basically we will see, are we increasing for the keywords that we want to increase for in Google? Is that bringing in more people to those things? And on top of that, is that also increasing the overall leads coming in from either organic or direct?
Yeah, okay.
Make sense?
Yeah, so then at that point, I mean, the only way to make those distinctions is have it like in your contact form. How did you hear about this? Directly, manually get it from the people telling you themselves.
Yeah, and even with that, though, that still then becomes like there are going to be elements of, well, how'd you hear about it? It's like, oh, like the internet.
Yeah.
Or like, how'd you hear about us? Oh, Google. Well, like, was that really Google, or was it the first time on Facebook? So it is another way to do that, but it just becomes like you're then relying on the person, and I don't know. I'm not a big fan of being like, okay, like what specifically did you type into Google get? So it just becomes like kind of like a mishmash of like how the person answers, and then do you want to dive deeper into it? Is what they're saying even realistic? So it's a lot of like really just doing the right things, seeing how like the leading indicators are shaking out, meaning your rankings, your traffic, how long people are staying on the website, overall leads, and then looking at that as far as like correlation into overall leads and things like that.
Okay, yeah, so the attribution across the board can get a little dicey to figure out. So are you saying that's true for all organic traffic, no real way to get around it? Is that kind of...
Yeah, I mean, with the exception of unless you have people that come in the door and very quickly convert into a lead, where they're able to be tracked from Google to website to the lead.
I see. But in the industries where you're doing larger projects, you're going to have longer lead times, and the sales cycle is going to be longer. That's when all this obscurity comes in.
Yeah, and it's less about the sales cycle, but it's more about like the customer journey as far as like how much research are they doing ahead of time before they reach out to you. That is the thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, that makes sense. So that's what we're mainly seeing for clients now. How much of that is changing? How much has changed in the past 6 months with AI and the changes to Google?
So it's changed a lot. So on the AI side, basically the way that it's going is people are getting the big benefit of using AI is you're able to have like more conversational searches, if you will. So let's say if you were looking in just typical Google, if you're looking for a kitchen remodeler near you, what would you type into Google?
Kitchen remodelers near me.
Perfect. Now, if you're going into and you're getting used to conversing back and forth with Google or with ChatGPT, and you were looking for a kitchen remodeler near you, what do you think you would type in?
Yeah, so then I think I see what you're getting at. Rather than it being like a search phrase, like if you were just talking to a friend about it, you would be something like, I'm looking for somebody that can do my kitchen remodel, and I'm concerned about these things. Like, it would be more conversational like that, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
I want somebody trustworthy in our area who has good reviews, and can perform, like, can fit this timeline or something like that.
Yeah, that's the direction that this is all going.
Yeah.
Which is it's a very different approach to it. So basically, people are getting more used to and comfortable with what, like, if you did a voice search, you would typically not do a voice search of like kitchen remodeler near me. You'd be like, hey, I need a kitchen remodeler who is able to start, or finish before Christmas because I'm having people over for Christmas. I also want them to have this sort of style, and they need to have good reviews.
Yeah.
So now it becomes like a multi-step process to find that right person. Google can't handle that on its own because it's not set up for that.
Yeah.
Google is all about optimizing. They still want to get you the best results. So if it's kitchen remodeler near me, they don't want to send you somebody that has like all 1-star reviews. They're bad. They still want to get you the right people, but because of how AI works, it now becomes it's meant to give you better answers, more specific to you, even more than what Google was able to give you.
Yeah.
But now, because of the behavior stuff, so a lot of people are now getting used to conversing back and forth with ChatGPT, that now it's becoming they're typing in longer things. Mm-hmm. So now it gives it more insight into what specifically you're looking for.
And I would think, like, from a little bit more of an outside perspective, because I have less insight on this than you, I would think Google search or Gemini, it's all still Google. They're still using the same basic framework for deciding who to show, but Gemini is like almost just a new way to prompt it, like a new coat of paint over the same back end. Is that, like...
Not quite.
Like, you'd almost think they're going to show the same companies on Gemini that they would on Google search.
It's very similar.
Yeah.
So basically the way that it works is right now for kitchen remodeler near me, they're just going to take that search for face value and say, okay, which company do we feel like is a good kitchen remodeler for Aaron in this area? Mm-hmm. The way that AI works is it's called RAG, or retrieval augmented generation. And basically what it does is the first part is retrieval. So if you type in kitchen remodeler near me, what it does is it doesn't take kitchen remodeler near me at face value. It's actually going to do a bunch of different searches all at once. So it's going to say kitchen remodeler near me, top kitchen remodelers, award-winning kitchen remodelers who specialize in design, kitchen remodelers who have been around for a long time. And basically...
And is it pulling those based on your context of previous conversations with it?
So right now, as it stands, I've not seen anything that says, okay, based off of your historic, that we're doing this, at least like with Gemini. My firm belief is in the future it will be way more like that. It does it a little bit with like ChatGPT and things like that, where it's more like they kind of know your backstory even more. But like I very firmly believe that we're only a few years away where it knows like, hey, you were just looking up, like this morning I was looking up 3-row SUVs that are family friendly.
Yeah.
So now it's going to go, okay, this guy's family friendly. So when I do a search, they're going to be like, okay, well, you have a family. We should probably find a family friendly remodeler. So now it's going to be remodelers who are also have safety precautions, things like that.
But as of October 21st.
As of October 21, I have not seen that. That's like definitive, although conceptually there's a lot of like conversation around that. It's already happening. It's just like I have not seen it like in any like research data, if you will.
Proof of it yet. But that seems to be where it's headed.
Because that's the whole goal of this stuff, is to get you answers and more specific answers faster. But for right now, it's going to do all those, like, it's going to guess all the things that they think it should also search. And then it's going to go through the augmented phase, which now that it is a search, it's going to then go through all the results that are there. So it's going to figure out, who are the top people for kitchen remodeler near me? Who are the top companies and the top sources in Google, because that's where it's pulling all of it from, for highly rated kitchen remodeler and kitchen remodeler that focuses on design. And so all that stuff. So it's able to go through not only like your Google like search page, but in that page, it's then going to go, if house pops up, it's going to go through house and things like that. So it's going to gather a ton more information based off of not only what you search, but also what it thinks you should search.
Yeah.
And then the generation is, now it takes all that information and it pulls it back together and gives you what it believes to be the best answer to your original question.
Yeah, so I mean, it's one step further than the AI overviews.
Yeah, it's a lot further. So it's like it's basically doing a dozen searches or more at once, pulling in a ton more data, and then pulling all that data back in to a very simple way to understand it.
Okay, so then how does that affect, like there's a lot of things on how that changes your experience with Google, things like that, but how does that actually affect like which companies get found?
So the first part of this is which companies get found. So let's say you use, so there's a distinction between like the RAG method, because it's going out live, versus, let's just say with like normal ChatGPT. Normal ChatGPT, if you don't click the button that says do deep research or do a web search, it's only going to use the information that it has been collected, which at this point was up through 2024.
Yeah, so it's based on previous training data. Yeah.
Correct. So basically, if you were not in the previous data set that it pulled from by 2024, meaning let's say you didn't focus on SEO until this year, or maybe you started last year, but you weren't really high enough for it to like really warrant anything for you, you're not going to be in ChatGPT by itself. But if you then say, hey, I want you to connect to the web, or if you're using Google where that is connected to the web, like things like that, then it's going to be able to go out and get more live real-time data.
Yeah, so there's two different searches that people will be doing, like going through ChatGPT's just old data and then ChatGPT actually going on the web, which is Gemini's default.
Correct.
Yep.
Now, the big difference here is, do you need the most October 21, 2025 data on how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
No.
You could just use normal ChatGPT. You don't need that. But if you're like, who's the best kitchen remodeler near me, you want more real-time, up-to-date stuff. So that's where you want to either click on web search, or sometimes ChatGPT is like, we'll just automatically do it, things like that. So that's where the shift comes in. And recently, what Google actually did was Google used to be able to make it where these companies could say, hey, instead of, normally there's 10 links on that search page for Google. You could actually click a button at the bottom of the page and say, show me 100 searches all at once. 100 results, all at once. What these companies would be able to do is ChatGPT would be able to automatically go in and say, hey, give me all 100 searches at once. And it costs them, let's say, 1 token to be able to do that, because they can only scan one page. Well, now Google turned that feature off. So now Google only shows the top 10, and if you want to then see results 11 through 20, you have to then go to page 2. Well, what that requires is ChatGPT now gets to use 1 token per page, but now each page that it scans, it can only get 10, not 100. So if it still wants to pull in 100 different sources, different search results, it's going to need to use 10 tokens, not 1 token. So it costs 10 times as much money for ChatGPT to actually pull in all those results.
And I'm assuming Google did that on purpose
Pretty smart, right?
Yeah.
So now what that really means is, unless ChatGPT is going to fork out 10x of what it previously was, which it most likely will not do, now if you want to get found in these sources, you have to be on page 1.
Shoot. Okay. And so, I mean, like in the current state, there's like what, 7 organic spots on page 1?
Well, this would be like 10 organic.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I see. I see. Yeah. Shoot. Okay. So then, I guess it's like, how is it analyzing things differently than Google? Like, what actual steps do remodelers need to take differently to speak to AI search as opposed to traditional Google search?
There's a lot of overlap and a lot of similarities.
Okay.
There's also some things that are kind of crap that work well in AI. Like let's say, for example, with the LLM stuff, meaning not connected to the internet. What they really care about is how often is your company being cited online, not necessarily quality, but just quantity. And it looks at it, the more that we can find your business, the more likely it is that we're going to, you're going to be the one that we're going to credit as, this is the person who's teaching you how to make a peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah.
So if you want to appeal to just the non-internet version of stuff, which still has a lot of value to it, you want to get cited all over the internet in a bunch of different places. So that's setting up what's called citations. That's still good for Google as well. But basically, you want to make sure that you're being found everywhere.
Okay.
Now, when it comes to the not...
that sounds sucky.
I mean, but it's a best practice. So like the reason that it's important though, because it is a little bit of like a gamification, but the reason that Google and ChatGPT likes that is like we do this with all SEO clients is it's setting up citations, basically meaning on every directory website on the internet, we want your business to have the same name, address, phone number, email, hours of operations, because basically if you have consistent information, then Google has more confidence that you are going to be a legitimate business that they can provide, because what they don't want to do is say, call Logan's Remodeling Company, and it looks out online, and I have 3 different phone numbers. Which phone number do they show you?
Yeah.
They don't know, so they just
Then
don't show you
get
at all.
frustrated with it, and
Because like, what if they give you the wrong phone number? Then do you trust Google as much the next time?
Yeah,
Probably not.
definitely
So
not.
that's part of this stuff. So that is a big shift here. That like you need to make sure that you're getting cited and things like that. It's still like that works well for Google. That's like one of the first things that we do with clients that come in for SEO is we first set up all their citations. We go in and manually create all these things to make them good to go. You see a pretty good boost as far as like how much is Google showing you for these different things. So that's always been around. It's just now it's getting more important because of AI.
Yeah.
Other things that they're doing is the way that AI, because it's like trying to scan through data really fast, you need to create, like when you write blogs or write pages on your website, like you want to make it more conversational. So if you're writing a blog all about, let's say, top 5 kitchen trends, and we'll say one of the trends is herringbone backsplash. You would want to, when you create like a headline for like that section of the page, you would want to write that as a question instead of maybe just a statement that you would before. Where before it'd be like herringbone is in style would be like the statement as like the header, but now you would be like, is herringbone a good backsplash for kitchens? And then you would answer it below it with more like straightforward information.
So it sounds, I mean, like there's formatting changes and things like that.
Yep.
Like the marketing company or whoever's doing your blogs, whoever's creating the content, they'll have to know all those little tricks and things. But the name of the game is still the same thing. It's educating people, answering questions.
That's really what it is. And that's where, like, going back to the beginning of like Google Ads versus like Google SEO, like all the SEO stuff that we're doing, like the clients that we've been doing SEO for the longest, coincidentally also are getting found the most in ChatGPT and things like that right now. So, and we have software that shows that sort of stuff. So it's like, it's there. And this is then as you start to move more towards that idea of like, instead of having ChatGPT or Gemini or these things say like, all right, like top remodelers with lots of reviews, it's also then gonna be like, okay, what is important to Aaron? Mm-hmm. We kind of know what Aaron likes to spend on things. Does he care about design? Does he not care about design? Does he have a Pinterest board that he has all these things on or not? So like, it's going to get to that point where it's really so specific to you, which then means that the remodeling company, if they want to, be a choice for you, first and foremost, they need to get found by ChatGPT and AI, meaning if they're not on the first page right now, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
On top of that, are you making it easy where they're able to scan through your website? Like there's a lot of people, they don't even realize it. They write their own blogs. Google doesn't even show them in Google. Like you just don't know that they're not there because
you put it up on your website, you figure,
hey, like of course they're going to show up. They don't. It doesn't work like that. Google has to still like, it's called indexing it, but basically put it into their search. Like it'll go through it and then determine, do we want to show this or not? And a lot of times if it's a crap blog or it's not good enough or something's wrong with it, they just won't even show it. They'll say, hey, we know that exists, but we're just not even going to show it.
Interesting.
So there's a lot of that stuff that goes into it as well. So it's a lot of like, can these AI search tools even find your stuff first off, which is a lot of like the technical stuff that we look at and making sure like the website architecture is set up correctly and it's structured in a way that, if you have a really important page on your website that you're like, I really want Google to show this, it shouldn't take 9 clicks from the home page to get to that page. It should take 1 click or maybe 2 clicks or that's it.
Yeah.
So there's a whole setup of like, basically, it's like if you have a really important book at the library that you want everybody to see when they walk by, you put it at the front. Mm-hmm. You don't put it back where it's like, all right, first off, where's the business section? Okay, now for the business section, are you categorizing them by the book title or the author or the author's last name? So it's like you need to set that up in a way that it makes it easy, because it costs Google a lot of money, the same way that it costs all these AI tools a lot of money to go out and scan and crawl the internet. So the harder that you make it on these platforms, the more they're like, we're good. Like, we just don't. Next time we come back, we're not going to spend as much time on it. Or it's like, hey, we're only going to go through 10 pages today.
Yeah.
And if 4 of your pages are bad pages or they're broken links, so they go to then you just miss out on those pages. And now Google only looks at 6 pages. So there's a lot of that stuff that goes into it. And with the AI stuff, you need to make it very easy for your website to be read by this, where you can find it, it can then read it, it can then understand what you're talking about. That's the first piece. So that's like all about the retrieval.
Yeah.
Then from there, you need to make sure that the information is tailored to what people want to see. So if it's back to that Aaron example of, hey, it's all about you have kids, you like design, you have this style, then we need to make sure that we're talking about those things on the website, in the blogs, online, because then you can pull it back and it'll say, hey, Aaron, I found this company, it's Logan's Remodeling. They talk about doing dust protection on the job site, and all of their subcontractors have gone through extensive background checks because you have a family, all of that stuff that you may not even be thinking of necessarily. You just say, I want it to be safe for my family.
Yeah.
And now, because that remodeling company said, here's all the ways that we made it safe, and that's a big part of like.
So that's like having information on your process pages or calling out specific examples like in the last episode we talked a lot about the future project pages.
Yeah.
Things like that where you can have specific examples. In the same way a person would go through and read it and be like, okay, this applies to me. The AI is essentially trying to do the same thing. They're trying to connect. This is a person who I'm representing, searching for this thing.
Yes.
I'm trying to find examples that represent what their needs are and then show that back to them.
Yeah, because basically, think about it. If every time you went to, let's say, Perplexity, like a random one, but you went to Perplexity and said, I'm looking for this, and every time that I gave you a suggestion, it was a fantastic suggestion.
Yeah, you're
going to stay on it.
Yep.
So that's what they're trying to do. So it's a lot of just making sure that it's easier for it to collect the information. A big part of this is making sure that you're diversified. So it's not just your website anymore. It's website, it's YouTube, it's Google can now find Instagram and TikTok and things like that. So now making sure you have the other platforms set up and making sure that you may not like it, but having a house and an Angie profile where like,
oh, really?
Yeah, like you don't have to pay for it, but you need to have that stuff set up because that's also part of like those citations in like those quote unquote directory websites. If you're able to like go join a local chamber of commerce, like all of that stuff, now it becomes this holistic play where ultimately the best businesses are going to win.
Yeah, okay, so what I'm hearing you're saying is previously the way to get found was really a lot of focus on just your website, your Google business profile, and those reviews. Like putting a bunch of information on there because Google can find that and it all kind of links together. But now you're saying outside of that, also making sure that your information is spread to YouTube, to House, to Angie, to all these different platforms because now all of that gets congregated as well.
It was always happening before as well.
Yeah, okay.
But it's now being shed even more light on like you really have to have this stuff.
Okay.
Like the fact that ChatGPT was obsessed with Reddit for a while.
Yeah.
Where it was like if you were on Reddit, you were getting it cited, like that was good. But now they changed it and Reddit doesn't get cited nearly as much and now it's a whole like Reddit stock dropped and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it just basically is like, okay, ChatGPT wants to give the best answers. And at one point they thought, okay, open source, Reddit, that's going to be it. But then maybe they said, well, maybe this is a little bit too open source. Maybe we don't take medical advice from Reddit and we actually go back to, the actual like PhD papers.
Yeah.
So there's going to be like those shifts. And like a big part of this is also you want to optimize for all of them. Like Microsoft is a major investor in OpenAI, which owns ChatGPT, which means that Bing is no longer the ugly, step cousin.
Yeah,
you now need to at least align with that. Because now that Google's come out and said, hey, it's going to cost you 10 times to scan 100, then ChatGPT now says, okay, I'm going to scan, and this is all like, because nobody really knows exactly how it does it, but like, I'm going to scan the top 10 on Google, but then I'm going to do the top 100 on Bing.
Yeah.
So now Bing's all over again, like important. Mm-hmm. So it's like now you need to make sure that you're just diversifying, while before it was a little bit more gaming the system of like, what can we do to make sure that we were being found for a kitchen remodeler near me? because we know that's what
Yeah.
people are searching for. And now it is this holistic play into how can we actually get found everywhere with all the best information that articulates what we do in a way that ChatGPT and all these other search engines or search AI or AI searches can figure that piece out, then understand what we're talking about, put it all together, and then serve it back to the right people at the right place in the right time.
Yeah. So, okay, so there's tons and tons of things that, like, a bunch of different places that we need to be ranked, things to be concerned about. I can very easily see how somebody listening to this, it can be
Overwhelming.
very overwhelming. What would you say to that person? How do you get through that? Is there a few key things to focus on?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is going to be make sure that you are producing content on your website, like where it's found, it's written in a way that it still has to rank in the top 10 of Google. Otherwise, there's it's no point, like all that kind of stuff. So make sure it's all like the fundamentals of SEO are still very much at play. So and right now, just as like a heads up, it seems, especially if you're in this world, it seems like these things are taking over so fast. But the reality is, when there's like a local search, like you're trying to find, like a local person, like it's like 6% of the time is like when like that AI overview will pop up.
Yeah.
But it's 94% of the time it's not going to be there. It's just going to be like normal Google. So Google is still huge. Yes, they're losing overall market share, meaning like percentage of people using them, but the overall number of searches continues to grow every single year. So that's like the first like big, Google's falling and AI is replacing everybody, and don't even bother with this anymore because like life is over. Like a lot of that stuff is just, I mean, I see this all the time on LinkedIn where people are like, I fired my entire marketing team and in 72 hours built an AI agent system that replaces all of them. Well, it's written by somebody that is literally, they don't have any employees if you like looked at their LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So there's just crap that is being put out left and right of like, just use ChatGPT to source your best keywords. This is what you should do. Well, ChatGPT hallucinates, meaning it makes stuff up a lot of times.
Yeah, it sounds very confident.
It sounds
seems
super
great.
confident. So you're like, great, this is it. But then you realize that like, it's not backed by, it's backed by what it thinks that you want to hear a lot of times. So it's a very good, like the more that everybody uses it and the more that we use it, the more that I realize it is not the end all be all. It is simply a way to rephrase things or rethink about things, but ultimately it is not like a end all be all of like, let me just type this in, boom, this blog that ChatGPT wrote for me is done. You need to go back through and edit it and update it and things like that to make sure that it's actually accurate and different and things like that. But back to like, what do we do? It's still AI principles, good, strong website. You want those citations created to make sure that you're found on all like the other directory sites. Great reviews is going to be a huge part of this as well. Not only, Google Business Profile is still going to be king in this, but also having Houzz and Yelp and Angie and things like that. Again, these softwares are like these platforms are smart enough to know that like, yes, you need Yelp right now, but ultimately like Yelp is more for like restaurants rather than like a remodeler. So like Houzz is going to be more important. So in a perfect world, if you can get a client to leave you a review on Google and Houzz and Yelp and Angie and all these places, perfect. But if you have to prioritize, I'm still all in on Google Business Profile, then Houzz.
Okay.
So that's going to be important as well. Links, meaning people that are linking over to your website, is still a huge play in the Google side of things, where if you could join the local chamber of commerce or you could sponsor a 5K in your area, that is also going to help your website, making it easy to get found. So basically, it's not the sexy answer that everybody wants of like, just do more listicles because that works better, but it really is the SEO fundamentals are still very much a play. Yes, there are some differences. Yes, there are ways to, that need to be maybe emphasized more.
Yeah.
Like scale of 1 to 10, those citations, I keep bringing them up because it's big on AI. Scale of 1 to 10 for AI, it's like a 10. For SEO, it's like a 3 or a 4. Meaning you still need to do it. You still want to do it, but it's not life or death as it is like to be found with ChatGPT.
Yeah. Okay.
Proof is going to continue to be the biggest thing. Meaning, I just did like an audit for somebody, and we went through and I compared like these are the the top 5 concerns that your client has. This is how you versus your top competitors all show up and talk about it. And like these 3 companies explicitly talk about on their website, hey, if you're worried about communication, don't worry. We use Builder Trend, and this is what it looks like. Versus the other 2, they just say, hey, we communicate really well, or we prioritize communication. And like you could go in their reviews, and the 14th review down, it says, oh, they use Builder Trend. Well, then you're forcing your prospect to go searching for that stuff versus making it explicit. So you want to make sure that you have on the website explicit ways that it's called like a mechanism, but basically this is how we accomplish this thing. So it's an actual like proactive way of doing that. You want to make sure that you have those on your website as well, just to make it easy. So instead of saying, we make it safe on the job site, it's like, here are the ways that we make it safe for your family and your pets. And it's just like, dust protection, false walls, locks. We clean up at the end of every day. All
tangible examples.
Tangible examples where if somebody, it's basically, think about it in a sales call. If it's you versus me, and we're the same price point, and the client says, Aaron, you say you communicate. How do you communicate? And you go, well, I call you back. Versus if you look at me and you go, how do you communicate? And I'm like, we have a client portal. We're going to have daily logs, weekly updates as far as what was done and what's coming up next. We're also going to be doing a phase-by-phase walkthrough as well. If you're the homeowner, who are you feeling better with?
Yeah, definitely you.
That's the same way that all this stuff works.
In this case scenario, generally, I'd pick me.
Yeah. So that's basically how it all is you still want it to be very SEO. All the SEO principles are still super important. A lot of them now are just even more important, but that's what's going to win out in the AI world.
Okay. So it's, like the AI boogeyman that's going to mess everything up. Yes, it almost seems to me like things will change more from a user perspective, people searching it and they're getting used to the new way that they can interact with Google. But from a back-end perspective of you're trying to get your company found, it really does sound like everything is mostly the same. There are some technical details that like your marketing company or whoever's doing your SEO, they need to have a handle on. But for the most part, the strategy is the same. You got to answer people's questions, prove your results for people, get that out there in a bunch of places, not just for people, but now for the AI to find.
Exactly. So it's not conceptually, it's very similar. Like the 90% of it is all the same. It is just produce good content that is helpful for people, that is specific to your company, things like that. The last 10% is like what's the actual way of going out and doing it. The more that this stuff progresses, like I said it like in our first 6 steps for the remodeling side, like I firmly believe that this is going to replace referrals, because it's going to come to the place where, instead of asking your neighbor, who did you use? Now it's going to be asking your personal AI device that knows everything about you. Who should you use? Because you trust it that much more because it already knows so much about you. So it's going to move more towards that direction. So it's really like that's where I see this stuff going. And the more that you can get on it now versus later down the line, basically you're then going to be in the next big ChatGPT training data set. Are you going to be in that because you're in those top 10 spots on Google? And are you giving it more and more information? Because similar to Google, it doesn't want to give you crap results. It wants to give you good results. And like we've seen it already with like testing it with ChatGPT, where it's like, oh, like this, you should call this company number 1. And when you actually click on it, it goes to a different company's website. So AI and Google, is so far ahead of OpenAI and Perplexity and Claude and all these companies where like Google, my vote is still on Google that they're going to win out because they have so many individual data points on every single person that it can now train on as well. Yeah. That it's just going to be like Google's still king for this exact thing. And OpenAI has even come out and said, we don't want to compete on that. We want to be good at AI agents. But as far as like local search, Google's still the king dogs here. So like that means that you still need to be optimizing for Google because Google is going to be the big thing.
Yeah, as of October 21st, 2025.
Correct. It could be different as of tomorrow when this thing releases. But ultimately, it's just do the right stuff that Google wants to see, that your clients want to see, educate, nurture, be explicit in what you're actually talking about. So less buzzwords, more concrete. And just make sure that you're able to then get found, because ultimately you could have the best stuff, but if you're the best kept secret because of the way that the site's set up, or the way that Google's trying to crawl it, all that sort of stuff, that's the biggest pain in the butt. That if you know you're amazing, but like people have to go through reviews to figure that stuff out, it's a bummer, because it's really then the people that have the best marketing are the ones that win ultimately.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
That's how it all works. AI search, Google, it's a lot of the same stuff with, a few extra things, but that's really just how it all breaks down.
It's not as scary as it all seems at first.
It's not. No, I mean it's great. I mean, I think it's awesome. I think it's just it's going to continue to make the best companies win, and the people that are able to articulate what they're able to do the best as well.
Yeah, like you'll hear some like naysayers and be like upset about how much Google changes and things like that. But I've always like been of the opinion, like, I mean, all of their changes, at least up until now, have been aligned with the best interest of like the companies and the people searching. Like they want to get the best company to the right homeowner.
That's what they want.
Like they want to get rid of all the gaminess, all the well, if we do this, if we get rid of these little hacks, like those stuff work for a very limited amount of time.
And that's like we were talking about this morning, like a week ago, Google just released an update to like how Google Ads shows.
Yeah.
So now, it used to be like at the very top of the page, each of those listings would say sponsored, sponsored, sponsored. Well, now it just has a banner at the top that says sponsored, but you now have a button that you can click that says hide sponsored posts.
Yeah.
So now basically Google's kind of saying like, if you don't want to see the sponsored posts, you can jump right to the organic stuff, which people are kind of naturally doing anyway.
Yeah.
But the other side of it is right now with the sponsored, instead of it being on each individual thing, it's just a banner at the top that if you don't know to look for it,
then it when you showed it to me, it made some of the sponsored stuff look much more organic.
like organic, which
Yeah.
I think that's going to play out well for ads
in the short
in
term.
the very short term, until people realize that they need to now look for it. And then, honestly, I think they're going to get frustrated by it. And now they're going to be used to just clicking on the hide sponsored post. So I think my guess is you're going to have a quick bump until people figure it out, then get frustrated by it, going, hey, I feel like you kind of bamboozled me. So now in the future, they're just going to hide that and go right to the organic.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, like, that's a good example. Like, as this stuff continues to improve, the good news is it's getting easier and easier for just do the right stuff. Make sure that you're telling people, you're showing proof of it, and you will get found.
Exactly.
Great.
Cool.
Awesome.
That's how it all works. Make sure that you're optimizing once you have the website dialed in, because ultimately you can get traffic, but if it's a crap website, it doesn't really matter, because they're not going to then convert into an actual qualified lead. Focus on this stuff before you start to focus on all the other big things, which we're going to talk about next time. But right now, meet people where they are at. It really breaks down to like 3% of your market is searching right now for you. The next 7% are like doing like costs and like they're getting close. Then the next 30% are just like kind of thinking about it and they're open to it. And the other 60% is so far away from it that it doesn't matter. But you need to make sure that you're going after people, or making sure that you're showing up for people when they have their credit card out ready to roll.
Yeah. Cool.
Cool.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.